I call Chris Hipkins.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. It's a great pleasure to rise in support of the bill that David Shearer has put forward. And I'd like to acknowledge the contribution of the member who just spoke before me, who has demonstrated very clearly one of the perils of not listening to the contribution of the member speaking before him and simply relying on the notes provided by the party research unit rather than actually engaging properly in the debate. Because had he listened to what David Shearer had contributed in his first reading speech, he will have heard him acknowledge that the solution proposed in this bill might not be the right one, but by putting the bill before a select committee, there would be an opportunity to canvass the issues properly, to get submissions from the public, to look at what is happening now and what is working, and to look at how things might be improved. And I think that is an absolutely commendable approach to take. Because this bill, of course, has its genesis some years ago, and I recall the speech that David Shearer made talking about children in schools going to school hungry and not being ready to learn. And that is how this bill came about. Since then, there's been a lot of debate about the best way to tackle that problem, and I think that the contribution David Shearer made in the very beginning, where he talked about the importance of some of the healthy eating, healthy action programs that are already happening in schools, was very, very pertinent to the debate and very important. I know, for example, in my own electorate, there are some fantastic programs happening in local primary schools, early childhood centres and secondary schools as well. I think about, just to give one example, Fraser Crescent Primary School in my electorate has a large council reserve at its back door, the Climber Park, which wasn't particularly well used. They've now established a community garden within Climber Park and the people working in the community garden work very closely with the primary school. The kids are involved in the community garden. They've got an orchard planted. They do their own compost. They harvest rainwater. They grow vegetables. And it is a fantastic learning experience for the kids, and it involves members of the wider community as well. Those are the sorts of programs that I think we should be looking at as examples of what can be achieved. I grew up in a family where we had one of the old quarter-acre sections in the Hutt Valley that is fast disappearing now as they are subdivided. My parents had a vegetable garden. I learned at a young age what growing vegetables was all about and how to do it. Many, many kids today don't get that opportunity. Many come from families with two working parents, and I was fortunate when I was a young kid to have one of my parents who wasn't working full-time. But also, if you just look at the nature of, working at home, but if you look at the nature of how we live now, like I said, those sections are disappearing. The room for vegetable gardens is disappearing as they're subdivided and as people are living in much higher density housing. Schools can do something about that. Schools often have the land, and councils, in partnership with local authorities, they have access to the land and they can do some pretty amazing things. Now, I think that this is an opportunity for us to really look at some of those issues and look at how we could better facilitate that happening all around the country. What I'm not willing to do is come along to Parliament and say that I'm going to turn a blind eye to the fact that kids are coming to school hungry, because they are coming to school hungry, and we should do something about that. Do I believe that the government intervention is the sole answer? No, of course I don't. It is a very complex problem, and it's going to require a number of things to address it. But doing nothing is not an option. This bill that has been put forward by David Shearer provides us with an opportunity to do something. It provides us with an opportunity to talk about the various alternatives and the various options that are available to us. And it doesn't have a predetermined outcome, as Meka Whaitiri has pointed out. This is an opportunity for us to look at a whole variety of options and a whole variety of potential outcomes. It's incredibly disappointing that the government are voting against it, because it is an opportunity to develop a robust policy, a good policy that will gain cross-party support, community support, that people can buy into to address what is a very real problem in our schools. Kids coming to school not with either the wrong food or with no food, because actually some of the kids coming to school with the wrong food is just as much of a problem. If you talk to the teachers teachers who have got a classroom full of kids who have just been dosed up on fizzy drinks and sugar, they'll tell you that that's just as hard to manage as a classroom full of hungry kids. So we've got to get real about this problem. We have an obesity problem in New Zealand. We've got a hungry kids problem in New Zealand. We could do something about that. This bill, if progressed to select committee, provides an opportunity for us to have that debate, to have a constructive discussion. I have absolutely no hesitation in saying that the Labour Party will be fully supporting it.